You're driving home. You see the flashing lights in your mirror. Your heart drops. What you say in the next 60 seconds can decide whether you drive away with a warning or end up in handcuffs, even if you did nothing wrong. Every year, over 20 million Americans get pulled over, and almost none of them know the rights I'm about to show you. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to say, what not to say, when you're legally required to answer, and when you can stay completely silent. This is the full version. We'll cover regular traffic stops, DUI stops, searches, what happens if you get arrested on the spot, and what to do if you believe the stop itself was unfair. Stick around till the end, because the last section, what to do after the stop, is the part almost nobody talks about, and it's often more important than the stop itself. Quick note before we start, I'm walking you through general U.S. law. This is not legal advice for your specific situation. Laws vary by state, so if you're ever arrested or charged, contact a licensed attorney immediately. Let's get into it. The second you notice the police lights behind you, here's what to do, step by step. First, turn on your signal and pull over safely to the right shoulder, in a well-lit area if it's dark. Second, turn off your engine, roll down your window, and if it's nighttime, turn on your interior light so the officer can see inside clearly. Third, place your hands on the steering wheel where they're clearly visible. If you have passengers, ask them to keep their hands visible too. Fourth, stay inside the vehicle unless told otherwise. Under the Fourth Amendment, a traffic stop counts as a seizure, meaning the officer has temporarily detained you against your will. Courts allow officers to take reasonable precautions for their own safety. Being calm, visible, and predictable isn't about surrendering your rights. It's about controlling how the first 30 seconds feel. Most bad outcomes don't start with the law. They start with fear and confusion, escalating on both sides. Here's the legal difference between what you must do and what you're allowed to decline. You are required to provide your driver's license, vehicle registration, and proof of insurance when asked. Step out of the vehicle if the officer orders you to. The Supreme Court settled this in Pennsylvania versus Mims. Officers can order you out for safety reasons without extra suspicion. In stop and identify states, you may be required to state your name if asked. You are not required to. Answer questions about where you're coming from, where you're going, or what you're doing. Consent to a search of your vehicle. Answer questions about anything else in the car or about your passengers. Admit fault, apologize, or explain yourself. Here's a phrase attorneys recommend, word for word, because it's respectful but legally precise. Officer, I want to cooperate, but I'm going to remain silent, and I don't consent to any searches. Saying this out loud activates strong Fifth Amendment protection later if this situation goes to court. If an officer asks, "Mind if I take a look in your car?" a lot of people say yes just to seem cooperative or because they panic. Don't. You have the right to say no, calmly and respectfully. I don't consent to a search. You do not need to explain why. Here's the nuance. Saying no does not automatically stop an officer from searching anyway if they have probable cause. For example, if they see something illegal in plain view, smell alcohol or marijuana strongly, or a police dog alerts. In those situations, an officer may search without consent. But here's why refusing still matters. If they search without probable cause and without your consent, that refusal becomes powerful evidence later. Your attorney can move to have any evidence thrown out under the exclusionary rule. In short, saying no doesn't guarantee they won't search, but saying yes guarantees 100% that they legally can. Never give up that protection for free. Most people think being polite means answering every question, over-explaining, or apologizing repeatedly. Defense attorneys will tell you plainly, the more you talk, the more rope you hand the other side. Here's what not to say. I know I was going a little fast. I'm just late for work. I usually don't speed. I swear I've never been pulled over before. That single nervous ramble contains an admission of guilt and unnecessary information. Compare that to a calm, legally smart response. I'd rather not answer questions, officer, but here's my license and registration. You can be respectful and completely silent about the substance of the stop at the same time. If you feel nervous and tempted to fill silence with chatter, physically bite your tongue, take a breath, and repeat your line again if needed. DUI stops deserve their own section because the rules shift slightly. If an officer suspects you've been drinking, they may ask you to perform field sobriety tests, like walking a straight line or standing on one leg. In most states, field sobriety tests are voluntary. You can decline them. You can say, "I'm not going to perform any field sobriety tests, but I will comply with anything required by law." Why decline? These tests are subjective, and even sober people often fail them due to nerves, medical conditions, or footwear. Declining removes that subjective evidence. However, breathalyzer and chemical tests, blood or breath, are a different story. Nearly every state has an implied consent law. By having a driver's license, you've agreed that if lawfully arrested for DUI, you'll submit to a chemical test. Refusing that specific test triggers automatic penalties, like an immediate license suspension. So you can decline voluntary roadside performance tests, but refusing the official post-arrest chemical test carries serious consequences. If arrested, your next move should be, "I am going to remain silent, and I would like to speak to a lawyer." If the stop drags on longer than a normal check, or you're asked to step out, stay calm and ask one simple question: "Am I free to go?" If the officer says yes, leave calmly. If the officer says no, you are being detained, and this is the moment to say clearly, "I am going to remain silent, and I would like to speak to a lawyer." One rule matters more than any other. Never physically resist, argue aggressively, or try to drive away, even if you are certain the stop is unfair. The roadside is not the courtroom. Resisting can turn a strong civil rights case into a criminal charge against you. You have the legal right to record your traffic stop in every U.S. state, as long as you don't interfere with the officer. Announce it calmly: "Yes, I am recording this interaction for my own records." Don't hide the phone. Transparency works in your favor. If you're placed under arrest, here is your entire script. First, I am exercising my right to remain silent. Second, I want a lawyer. Then stop talking completely. Anything you say after this point can be used against you. Do not try to negotiate on the spot. Save your explanation for your lawyer in private. The moment you're back in your car, write down everything you remember while it's fresh: the officer's name, badge number, patrol car number, time, date, location, and what was said. If you believe your rights were violated, this written record is exactly what a civil rights attorney needs. Memories fade fast, but notes taken within the hour hold up far better in court. So here's your complete recap. 1. Pull over safely, hands visible, stay calm. 2. Hand over license, registration, and insurance. 3. You don't have to answer questions or consent to a search. Say it clearly. 4. Field sobriety tests are usually voluntary. Chemical tests after arrest usually aren't. 5. Stay calm, stay silent, never physically resist. 6. Ask, "Am I free to go?" if things drag on. 7. You can legally record the interaction. 8. If arrested, remain silent, ask for a lawyer, stop talking. 9. Afterward, write everything down immediately. None of this is about disrespecting police officers. The vast majority are just doing their job. It's about knowing where your rights start and stop, so one stressful 5 minutes doesn't turn into 5 years of consequences. If this helped you feel prepared, hit subscribe and drop a comment below. See you in the next video.